Very warm good evening to all. Today's topic is the doctrine of res judicata. When we speak about doctrine of res judicata, by the name itself we can make out it's a Latin words. Now res meaning is the subject matter and judicata means which has been adjudged, which has been decided. So subject matter which has already been decided you cannot go to the court and ask the court to decide again. That is the basic meaning of the res judicata. But it has got a deeper meaning as you read it and understand it. And as a lawyer, we can sometimes apply this in our cases and actually get very miraculous result, because many times we just go on defending or maybe prosecuting the cases, and we really don't know actually whether we are applying the res judicata. There are positions where we can find out that actually this matter has already been decided between the parties, and the person who has again come to the court on the same ground. But then the pleading has to be read in the whole. Now the basic concept of the doctrine of res judicata tells us that no person should be vexed twice for the same cause. The second principle is this: it is in the interest of the state that there should be an end to the litigation. And thirdly, a judicial decision must be accepted as correct. If something has been decided by the court and it has not been appealed, then if appeal period is also lost, limitation period is also over, once and all for, there are some exception that decision has to be accepted by the parties, also the people at large. It may, if it is a writ petition, then it applies to large number of people. Probably it may be under Article 32 or under Article 226 before the High Court of any state. Now, when we say res judicata, we again come to the same basic concept. The judicial concept is that once a matter is decided, you cannot ask the court to re-adjudicate it, or you cannot, as a lawyer, re-argue the same. You can file same suit or same cause of action. You cannot go back to the court. Now, there are some exception to that. That is Section 44 of Evidence Act. If we read this, if there is a fraud or collusion or incompetence of any court. Now, when we say incompetence of the court, probably the court has no jurisdiction. There is no inherent jurisdiction. It may be having limited jurisdiction. If it is having a limited jurisdiction, then definitely it will apply as a res judicata. But if there is no bar and there is no bar on the jurisdiction of the court, and the court having the competent jurisdiction, then you cannot say that res judicata will not apply. So if the court is having the competent jurisdiction, there is no fraud or there is no collusion, there is no incompetence of the court, there is no erroneous judgment. One of the exception is erroneous judgment. Then it has got the inherent power to decide the matter, and that matter is actually decided for once and all. So the res judicata doctrine is actually applied or actually used by the legal system to avoid the multiplicity of the proceedings, to avoid the unnecessary wastage of the judicial precious time. Also, it will be an harassment if the same matter is brought again and again before the court by the same parties on the same issue, same cause of action. Then it will be a wastage of the time. That is the one more reason that under res judicata, this doctrine, whenever it is applied, it is brought to the notice of the court that this issue has been decided by the title of the same parties. At the same time, they cannot come back to the court on the same cause of action. So it is actually very useful to the litigants as well as for the lawyers to get the positive orders from the court. Now, there is also another aspect of the constructive res judicata. Now, this is actually what more we have to apply. Actually, in the daily practice, we can apply more of the constructive res judicata. This is a very good learning for all of us. Whenever we are filing any petition or any suit, So we have to take everything, every ground or every cause of action, whatever can be embedded, included in that. We should take all the grounds together. If you are unable to take, suppose we are filing a divorce petition. If you are taking a ground of cruelty and same time the ground of desertion is available to you, it is very important for you that you take both the grounds together. It cannot happen that first you take the divorce matter on the ground of cruelty, your petition is dismissed, and thereafter you go for the after your petition dismissed, you go and file a separate petition or a independent petition on the ground of desertion. That is not allowed by the law. It will operate as a res judicata again. So constructive res judicata, the meaning is that if you can take the ground which you could have taken in the past when you filed the petition or the case or suit matter, then it should have been taken there. That is actually a constructive res judicata. Here, I would also like to tell you about the section 52 of the Transfer of Property Act. We normally buy the properties, so always in the agreement we find a clause that there is no litigation pending. And if there was a litigation pending, the appeal period is over and there is no summons or court papers are received by the seller. Now, under the section 52 of Transfer of Property Act, we will find that it says that whoever buys the property after the disposal of the suit and also during the pendency, during the appeal period pendency, that appeal is pending or appeal is likely to find. In that period, whatever the decision of the court will come, it will apply to the prospective buyer. So you have to be very careful when you are buying a property, and you should always put this clause in your agreements, so it will help you, your client also. Now we will see few judgments which will throw light to understand what is res judicata. One judgment of the Punjab and Haryana High Court is Suresh Kumar versus Santosh. Here the petitioner husband has filed a divorce petition, and for some reason he could not prosecute it further. He took it back, which was dismissed, and later on what happened that he filed another petition on the ground of desertion, as I have said earlier. Now what happened that the court said that when his wife took a plea of the res judicata, that whenever if you file a divorce petition and you had a ground of desertion actually that time, and if you have not taken, later on you cannot take this ground again, and the doctrine of res judicata will apply. In this matter, what happened? The after divorce petition is dismissed, again this person goes to the court, file a separate divorce petition, which is actually not allowed under the law because of the section 11 of the CPC, which speaks about the doctrine of res judicata. There is one paragraph in this judgment which is extracted from the another judgment, but it will be easier for us to understand actually what is res judicata. I'm sharing the same. In Satyadhan Ghoshal and others versus Srimati Devrajin Devi and another. It is a 1960 judgment of Supreme Court. It was held that the principle of res judicata is based on the need of giving a finality to judicial decisions. What it says is that once a res is judicata, it shall not be adjudged again. Primarily, it applies as between past litigation and future litigation. When a matter, whether on a question of fact or a question of law, has been decided between two parties in one suit or proceedings and the decision is final, either because no appeal was taken to higher court or because the appeal was dismissed or no appeal lies, neither party will be allowed in a future suit or proceedings between the same parties to canvass the matter again. This principle of res judicata is embedded in relation to suits in section 11 of Code of Civil Procedure. But even where Section 11 does not apply. The principle of res judicata has been applied by courts for the purpose of achieving finality in litigation. The result of this is that the original court as well as any higher court must, in any future litigation, proceed on the basis that the previous decision was correct. Now here, it is very clearly said that once a matter is decided, and if it is not taken to higher court, and it is decided for once and all, then the parties are bound by the decision. Here also one more thing is said that it not only applies to civil litigation, it will apply to criminal or all the other writ matters on the administrative side, that is of administrative law, or all the tribunal matters, all the judgment. In fact, any judicial matter, the res judicata will apply, maybe it is criminal or administrative law or civil law. Now we go to another judgment. It is again a matrimonial dispute. Ajay Devidas Rao Sambre versus Vaishali. This is of 2016 of the Bombay High Court. Now this is a very well-researched judgment wherein the divorce petition was filed by the husband, and it did not attain the finality, and before it attained the finality, it was withdrawn as dismissed. After some time, the wife filed a under Indian Penal Code 490 criminal matter. The husband again went to the family court. He filed a divorce petition. This time, he took all the grounds taken, whatever the amendments in the previous divorce petition, and also in the whatever the new development has taken after the filing of 490 and all the other incidents. He has enumerated everything, including everything in this new divorce petition. Now, here the matter was taken to the Bombay High Court. Bombay High Court said that res judicata will not apply because though once his divorce petition, which he has filed, it was withdrawn, it was not adjudged, it was not decided, it has not attained the finality. In such kind of matters, when the matter is not attained finality, and the person comes again and files another divorce petition, because previously, see, understand, the word used, it was withdrawn and it has not attained the finality. When we say it has not attained the finality, that means the issue which were raised in that petition has not been adjudged or decided, or any justice or any judgment is given that matter. If judgment is not pronounced, that means the res judicata will not apply. And when the matter came before the Bombay High Court said res judicata will not apply. And this is, I am repeating that this is a very well-researched judgment. Under section 25 also some alimony is granted, and there are a lot of arguments and very nicely well-researched judgment. Anybody who is having the matrimonial dispute should go through the same. Another judgment I would like to share with all of you is Shrikant versus District Court. This is of the Bijapur. Now here a habeas corpus petition was filed. The petitioner's brother was detained by the police authorities. When the police authorities detaining the person, and there is no FIR, and sometime when the relatives don't know how to approach the police, and they are not getting any answers, normally people go and file the habeas corpus. Now habeas corpus is filed in two courts, that is before the High Court of the state or the Supreme Court. Here the habeas corpus petition was filed before the Karnataka High Court. And what happened when the matter came before it, it was actually dismissed, and this person went again for the second habeas corpus under Article 32 before the Supreme Court. Now here again the matter came that when you have actually already applied on the ground of res judicata, it says you have applied under Article 226 habeas corpus petition before the High Court, and when you are on the same ground coming to the Supreme Court, whether res judicata will apply. Now here the Supreme Court said that it will not apply. The reason behind it, because it's a matter of a personal liberty. When a person is detained in civil matter, see, normally it is said that res judicata will apply all kind of litigation. But when there is a personal liberty, Supreme Court has said, because that is the reason this judgment is very important, Shrikant judgment versus District Court Bijapur. Now here we say that the habeas corpus petition will be maintainable. Now here what happened under Article 226, whenever a matter is decided before the High Court, you have another remedy is that if there is a finality is attained in Article 226, you can approach the Supreme Court under Article 136. But here, under Article 226, when the matter was finalized, the petitioner went to the Supreme Court under Article 32 and it was maintainable. And there is one more judgment, which is the Daryao Rao versus State of UP, where it has said that actually it will, res judicata will apply. But this judgment is actually an exception, and I would say it is differently decided only because of the reason, because it was a detention matter and also a matter of personal liberty. Therefore, this judgment is also very important. So in habeas corpus, res judicata will not apply. Another judgment is of Jama Masjid versus Sri K.V. Rudrappa. This is again a three-bench judgment of the Supreme Court. Now here a compromise decree was taken. Now when a compromise decree has been taken by the clients or by the litigants, can res judicata will the res judicata will apply? Here again what happened when the matter came before the Supreme Court said because there was no finality, the matter was not adjudged and there was no points were considered. It was actually a settlement between the parties. So whenever parties settle, it cannot be said the matter is actually decided on merit. Because of some reasons, the parties decided and there is a settlement did arrive. It was a trust matter, trust property was involved. Now because of this compromise decree, the Supreme Court said that res judicata will not apply, except that whenever a compromise decree is obtained from the court, you mention something where you are saying that you will agree to this. Now, because of the rule of estoppel, you have to agree to those contention and you cannot contradict yourself because of the compromise decree. But you have actually the remedy to come before in appeal and open this compromise decree, or you say because of the fraud or because of the pressure, I must have or they must have signed here, but res judicata will not apply. So this judgment is again very important judgment. It is of 2021 and three-bench judgment of the Supreme Court. Jama Masjid versus Sri K.V. Rudrappa. So res judicata is a judicial concept. If you can use properly, you're bound to get good results, and you can apply to many matters, mostly matrimonials and the property matters, which are again in the open. Maybe because of some reasons parties agree and disagree later on. How in compromise decree though was taken in the Jama Masjid matter, what happened actually that some of the trustees were not agreeing to this compromise, so they have gone ahead. But the court said res judicata will not apply. So it all depends on the kind of matters and also the way it is settled. So, but once and all it is decided, if the matter is attained the finality, then there will be a doctrine of res judicata and you cannot reopen the matter. The reason behind that, the court says that you cannot multiply the proceeding. You cannot go on and on the matter, because one person will win, another person will lose, and this can go on. Once a matter is decided once and for all by a competent court of jurisdiction, it cannot be reopened. That is the basic concept of res judicata. If you have any questions.